everybody, Joe Joseph here for thedailysheeple.com, and this is your news shot. So SHTFplan.com has a great piece, and they're highlighting economic forecaster Martin Armstrong, some of his latest models and what they're showing as far as what's to come in the next quarter, the next half a year or so. And one thing is pretty clear here. Martin Armstrong, for a long period of time, has really been accurate when it comes to predicting crisis scenarios, coming up with different scenarios and seeing which ones actually pan out. And so SHTFplan.com has a piece. Forecaster Martin Armstrong warns of war in September. We must be on guard. Prime period where a confrontation could emerge. Why? Well, just like 2006, 2007, you're now starting to hear that language come out from politicians saying, basically, the fundamentals of the economy are sound. You know, you got Trump out there. Oh, yeah, rah-rah, sis-kumbah. The economy's coming. Woo, chugga-chugga, woo-woo. No, that's not what's happening. Meanwhile, on Wall Street, you've got everybody sounding the alarm saying, we're due for a correction. Something big's coming down the pipe. I mean, you can do the research all you want. You'll see expert after expert after expert saying, you better ease your rudder when it comes to the stock market, when it comes to the bond market, because things are about to get crazy, especially as we head into the winter. This article says, you may have thought that tensions with North Korea were abating following Kim Jong-un's missile test stand down earlier this month. But as we and others outside the mainstream media propaganda machine warned, absolutely nothing's been resolved between the United States and the little rogue nation. And the proof you need is the fact that Kim Jong-un, just recently launched a missile directly over Japan and is now threatening a new nuclear weapons test to take place sometime in the next 2 weeks. Now, both sides are preparing for the next level of escalation. And at this moment, President Trump is continuing to shift military assets into the region. And doing so, might I add, extremely quietly, extremely slowly, just like they did with Iraq, just like they did in Afghanistan. It is a slow, incremental buildup until, boom, there they go. Now, a lot of people may not understand that took place with Iraq and Afghanistan, but it most certainly did. There was positioning that happened months and months before the actual conflicts began. So now, interestingly enough, Russia, too, has been deploying their troops to the Baltic states for military exercises. But from a strategic standpoint, one can only conclude that they're massing troops just in case hostilities breaks out. So you got that, right? You've got it on, on the European border of Russia. Then over on the other side, you've got buildups going on the border of North Korea, because Russia and China are both planning on the United States taking military action against North Korea. So according to Martin Armstrong, who's accurately predicted global crisis scenarios since the 1970s, September can most probably be the month that propels the world into the next great conflict. This is what he said. Quote, our model seems to be right on target for the escalation of military threats from North Korea. We gave our 2 targets for the opening of this window for a conflict on our war model with North Korea to watch, and they were between August 12th and 13th of 2017 and September 11th and 12th, 2017. And so we must be on guard for this prime period when a confrontation can emerge. Notice those dates. September 11th always falls within that sphere of time. Why? Because it's numerically significant, and numerology is very important to the powers that shouldn't be. Just simple as that. Now, Armstrong's cyclical war model forecasts echoes a similar sentiment from Brandon Smith, one of my favorite bloggers over at altmarket.com, who himself has been quite accurate with his predictions about everything from political election results to the Federal Reserve policy decisions. And in a recent analysis, this is what he wrote about everyone ignoring the North Korea threat. He said, quote, "The mainstream media has instead been going out of its way to downplay any chance that the current inflamed rhetoric on both sides of the Pacific is anything other than bluster that will end with a whimper rather than bomb blasts. This is one of the reasons why I think war is imminent. The media is a notorious contrarian indicator. Whatever they predict is usually the opposite of what comes true. Just look at Brexit and the election of Donald Trump for starters. Another generalization that is a sure bet is that the mainstream media usually lies, or at the very least, they're mostly wrong. And with that said, if we're to believe the latest polls, unfortunately, one thing is clear. The American people on both sides of the political spectrum are becoming more galvanized around supporting a potential conflict with North Korea. And for the establishment, war is a winning sell, at least for now." So, very interesting that came out. But wait, there's more. Because as noted by Zero Hedge on Tuesday, both China and Russia now appear to have given up on a peaceful resolution on the peninsula. Listen to this. Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Rabakov told reporters that while we can expect new sanctions, pressure on the DPRK after the last launch, such pressure is exhausted. Quote, "Judging by how colleges from the U.S. and other countries acted in similar situations, the U.S. allies, of course, we can expect new steps towards strengthening the sanctions on the regime," he said. "But it will not solve the problems. It's already obvious that the resource of sanctions pressure on the DPRK has been exhausted. It's no longer possible to adopt resolutions in the UN Security Council that do not contain a clear indication that there cannot be a military solution to the problem, but only a political one. A provision that would rule out additional unilateral sanctions beyond those that are collectively taken by the UN Security Council," the Russian diplomat said. So either way, it appears that Russia and China are pushing back to Trump to do something. And why not? You have Russia that have just been given a new round of sanctions because of their intervention in the Ukraine, right? And then China, you now have Donald Trump talking about tariffs. So typically what happens is when things get economic, when sanctions happen, when you restrict a country's ability to be able to provide for its people, they don't like that, and they typically get violent. Just as we would. Could you imagine another country, Russia, we'll just say, since they seem to be the bad guys, right? They go and they blockade our East Coast. Are we just going to sit around and take it? Kind of like Russia's been doing very patiently? I don't think so. So why would we expect other countries who are given economic blockades, if you will, to just sit around and take it? Eventually, they're going to have to lash out. It's about survival. You know, we don't live over there, so we don't know what those people are experiencing. But I can tell you one thing we have in common with them. They're human, just like you and me. And there's one thing that I try to live by every day is I think about that old saying, those that live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. And we, as America, have no place telling other countries how to act, how to live, what weapons they can have, what weapons they can't have. Because if you look at it, who was the only country to ever utilize the bomb in warfare? Oh, that was us. So who are we to tell another country what they can and can't do? And as long as we maintain that stance, that interventionist policy, it will eventually lead to our downfall. I'm Joe Joseph. This was thedailysheeple.com's News Shot. Feel free to comment below and visit our website at thedailysheeple.com. Have a great day, everybody.